What's going on, fellow fixers? I'm Jeremy and I'm a fixer. In today's video we're talking about these LED globe recessed lights. So this is actually a follow-up video to one of the first videos that I ever did here on YouTube, and let's be honest, it was terrible. It was out of focus. I used a little GoPro to do it. I didn't even focus on what I was doing up in the ceiling, and so I have heard your requests, and I'm going to go ahead and redo that video, and I'm going to show you a little bit more about how this all works and how you can get this light put wherever you want it. If you like these kind of videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit that little bell icon so you get notified when I upload a new video. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so in the first video that I did, and I'm sure there's an echo, not really much I can do about it, it's just a small room with tile. But in the first video, if you remember, this was all Durarock concrete board because it was a shower and I was installing this light. So what I want to do is talk a little bit more about how this light works and discuss a little bit of how wiring works for these LEDs, whether you're doing one light or multiple lights. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn the power off for this, and I'm going to pull this light down. Okay, so whenever you install, let me pull this light down here. Now what you'll notice with these lights is there's two clips on them on either side, and they give you a template on the box, and you basically mark where the hole is, use a drywall saw, and just cut that hole out. Now it's helpful to know where your ceiling joists are, because I have one basically right here, and I knew that when I put this box in, so I made sure that I left room for that. Now the reality is, because of how thin this is that actually there's enough room, even if I cut out over here over top of that joist, as long as I have room to get these clips on either side, this would still go up in there. But the way these work is they come with a little box like this, and you put a wire nut on here. I forget what they call these. Somebody in the last video actually told me what they call these. But you put a wire nut through and you feed your wire through that. Let me get a screwdriver. I'm going to open this box so you can see what it looks like on the inside. And notice that there's a little pigtail on this light. And so I'm going to go ahead and just unscrew this so that I can disconnect the main part here and set this down. Alright, so just like in the last video, I'm going to put a link in the description for these lights. You can get just a single or a 4-pack. I think they have 8-pack, 12-pack. You actually lift this up and you can see here how it's laid out. Now, I said in the last video that I had to use this light to test a fan at my in-laws house to make sure it wasn't the wiring. All of these black connectors had these little push connectors on them, but I had to cut them off. So that's why I'm using the wire nuts. But it's really simple. Basically, you're going to have your main light wire coming in, and then you're going to have a positive, your black, a neutral wire, which is your white, and then a ground. And you essentially just push those in. They just slide right in to each of those push connectors, or you can twist the wires together, and that's it. Now the light is wired up and connected, and all you do, close that up and slide it up here out of the way. And then I can reattach this, and notice it's keyed, so there's a little plastic piece in here. You have to make sure you line it up. Twist this on, and then all I do is push these little spring-loaded clips back and slide it up. And if you noticed, there's a little foam ring around this, and that makes sure that it gives a good airtight, watertight seal. Now it's not going to get much water, a little bit of moisture, but that seal sort of keeps that moisture out. The other thing is that these lights are IC rated, meaning insulation contact rated. That means you can put them up against the insulation in your ceiling. Make sure if you're going to put these somewhere where there's insulation in the ceiling, you get IC rated lights. Alright, so some of you had just a little bit of general questions about wiring and how these lights are typically wired up. So you saw up in the ceiling here there was one white wire. That is 14 gauge, it's called 14/2 wire, and that runs through the ceiling over to a light switch. I'm going to go ahead and take you to the light switch, and I'm going to pull the cover off and show you a little bit about how that is laid out. Close your sink drain so you don't lose a screw down in there. Okay, so I went ahead and made sure that I turned the power off at the breaker. But basically, the way that most any light switches work is there's one main feed wire that comes in, and that feed wire is what carries power to all of the lights that are in a switch panel. And the way that it works is if I pull this out, I'll sort of show you how one of these is set up. Okay, so if I pull this wire out, you're going to see no white wires. Notice that there's no white wires on this switch. All there is two blacks and then a ground wire, which is on the other side. So basically in this box, what I've done is I've taken every white wire that comes into this box, the main power wire that goes from the breaker panel to here, and then every white wire that goes to different switches or fans, exhaust fan in here, those all get bonded together into one clump and screwed together. So now all your neutrals are in one pack, because that's all we need. We just need to have those neutrals have a way to get back. And then what I do is I take a black wire, which is the main feed from the breaker panel, and I put it on one of these switches on the bottom. And then from there, I jump from this switch to this switch on the bottom, this switch to this switch. So basically that black power wire comes in here, and then it goes to here, and then it goes to here. So now each of these switches are fed with power. And then on the top, I run from the actual wire that goes to either the light or the vanity light or whatever it might be. That attaches to the top and goes all the way back to your outlet, or goes all the way back to your light, wherever your light would be. So essentially the way this works is when the switch is off, there is no power running between these two posts. When you flip it on, it joins this circuit. So now this bottom wire, which is always hot, can send that power to this this wire, which goes all the way up through the wall and to the light in the ceiling. And so that's essentially how you would wire any light. Get power feed to your main box here, and then however many switches you have, jumper them all together on the bottoms, and then on the top those would go to individual lights. Okay, so I only have one light on this switch. I basically have the power main feed coming into this box, and I'm going from here to here to here on the bottoms, and then I have one wire from here to the shower light. This one goes up to the exhaust fan in the ceiling, and then this one will go to the vanity light right here, which I haven't installed yet. So essentially, since I only have one light, I just have one wire that goes from here up through the wall over to that light in the ceiling, and it goes into that box that I showed you, and it all attaches right there. If you were going to have multiple lights on one switch, then what you would do is you would still go from here to your first light in your series, would go into that box, but then you would have another wire, same gauge, that would go from that box over to the box of another light, and then from that one over to the box of another light. So you basically are daisy chaining them together, and you would just bond all of your blacks and all of your whites and all of your grounds in each of those boxes. So what happens is when you flip this switch, power goes from here into this wire up to your first light, which also goes to your second light, which also jumps to your third, your fourth, your fifth, however many you have. These LED lights takes so little energy compared to the incandescents that you can put many on one circuit. Now, in new construction, typically you have your lights and your electrical outlets on separate circuits. It doesn't have to be that way. It just makes it easy. You can kill the outlets in a room separate from the lights in the room. If you're wanting to put lights in somewhere that there's not, all you have to do is get power to your switch box. And in this case, let's say I was retrofitting this and I had an outlet here, but I had no lights. I could actually take a wire from here, join it to the main feed that's coming in here, bond all these together, and then bring that wire into this box. Now I've got live power in here, and it works the exact same. I hope that this video sort of cleared up some of those questions that you had from the last video. Leave a comment below if you like this video. If you have any more questions about it, please feel free to put a question in the comments, and I will either answer it in the comment section or I may do another video. But either way, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next video.